Welcome to the IT Matters Podcast, where we explore why IT matters and matters pertaining to IT.
Welcome, everyone, to the IT Matters Podcast, where we talk to IT leaders that are making an impact. I'm your host, Keith Hawkey. Aaron is out sick today, so I think I'll be able to handle the conversation with a very special guest we have. We have the pleasure of speaking to a digital transformation savant of the logistics industry. Chintan Patel is the current CIO of National DCP. Chintan, welcome to the IT Matters Podcast. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me over. I'm excited to be here.
It has been a busy week in the tech industry, and I know you've had a lot of stuff going on. What have you been up to lately?
From our perspective, it's always you keeping your eyes and ears open for what's new, what's next. But also from a security perspective, you're always keeping your eyes and ears open because that can come and really upset things in a matter of seconds. So always keep my eyes and ears open for those kind of things and events.
Cyber criminals never sleep. That's for sure. We are all very grateful for the job that you do, and we'll get into a little bit of that today. The logistics industry has a number of challenges besetting it here in 2024. A lot of these actually are, I know that National DCP deals mostly with the truckloads that are on the road, but we have international news of whether it's a war or a conflict of trade routes being cut out because of international struggle. So it's certainly top of mind for most people that are not even associated with the logistics industry. One of your largest customers today that you service is Dunkin' Donuts. That's where you've been able to deliver a tremendous value. What are some of the high-level challenges that are besetting the logistics industry today, particularly when it comes to the truckload and what you're doing?
The margin of error for us is very low, right? To get your hot cup of coffee at Dunkin' at 6 a.m., we have to make sure that we get that truckload of fresh produce and everything along with it at a certain hour, and that margin of error is very low. External factors are always something that we are battling with in terms of whether it's a weather event or it is international events that could impact our supply. There's always these external factors that are going to come in the way, and we plan ahead for that, right? Knowing that these kind of things can come, we are hedging against these kind of things, external events. We're trying to get our supply locked down for a period of time so that we know that we can survive these kind of ups and downs that might be coming along the way. The biggest thing for us is making sure we know there's a very slim margin for error, and making sure we're over prepared to compensate for an event like this, which we know would come along the way.
Piggybacking off what you said, it certainly takes a dedicated team, and from a business leadership standpoint, and also from a technology standpoint. I mean, your team and the back end technology that delivers that cup of coffee that Dunkin' Donuts wants to create. It's no small task. And one thing I'd like to highlight is National DCP won Dunkin' Brand's Partner of the Year 3 times over the last decade. There are more than 13,200 Dunkin' stores in over 40 markets. You leading the technological innovation at National DCP, what technologies have made the most impact for your organization to have the accolade of winning Partner of the Year and one of the world's most trusted brands?
That's a great question, because Dunkin' indeed is America's beloved brand. And while we all know that America runs in Dunkin', not many people know that Dunkin' runs in National DCP. So to serve a brand like Dunkin' at scale, innovation is built into our culture, right? Every day we're looking at ways to serve our franchisees more efficiently, providing world-class service at a sustainable cost. And the way we do that at scale is to lean onto technology systems at every step of the process, right? Whether it's from planning, procuring, payments and receipts, selling and delivery. Technology is built into every single aspect of that process, and all the way through our back offices as well as our 9 distribution centers. We're constantly exploring and piloting new technology that can really help us with operational efficiencies in the warehouses. For example, drones is something that we're piloting right now. It really helps us kind of, the drone will fly through the aisles and do a cycle count on the fly, quite literally in this case. If we have to do that manually, it's an arduous, time-consuming process, and the accuracy might not be to, the degree which we can get it from a drone. So there's lots of different technologies that we're piloting and trying to see if this makes a good use case and their synergies with what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Another example is we're looking at automated pallet jack systems that allow remote operation of a pallet jack without ever stepping foot into the warehouse. This really helps us mitigate some of the labor challenges that we've seen over the past since COVID has hit. We're looking at technology that truly can make a difference, top level, bottom level efficiencies, or new ways of expediting things, etc. But all around, technology at the core of us serving our customers.
You make some great points, particularly around the labor shortage occurring in the logistics industry, among others. It doesn't take long for you to be driving on the highway and to look at the back of a truck. Basically, all the logistics companies are making their pitch to join their company in banners on the back of their dry vans. Like, hey, looking for a job, come join blank company. It's definitely no secret that there's a shortage in the industry, and innovating in a way to reach the young, more millennial. I'm a millennial. Millennials used to be young at one point. I guess we have children now, and we have a little bit more decision making power when it comes to the business. But the younger generation, gamifying the workplace, allowing. I mean, it is a tall feat to be able to pull off remote working when you're in a warehouse. And you mentioned drones being a part of this. Yeah, you mentioned the ability for a remote worker to be in their living room doing their work while controlling effectively a drone or robot that's there in person in a manufacturing plant. I can definitely see how that impacts the labor market. You're able to access a pool of talent that normally wouldn't be available to manufacturing, logistics that work hand in hand. Could you talk a little bit more about that program? What gave you the idea that this was a labor opportunity?
We're constantly looking and going to conferences and different areas where we can understand what's new in the market, right? And how does it impact our business directly? There's a lot of different robotic solutions that are out there, but not everything is a good fit for us. So we'll pilot it and see it and say, hey, does it make good sense, business sense? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So we're constantly on this journey of trying to find the right fit where it makes sense from a numbers perspective as well as efficiencies perspective. This one in particular, with COVID coming in, everyone's kind of definition of work ethic, if you will, or work-life balance has changed dramatically, right? Sometimes for the better, sometimes you can argue against it. Typically, if you see how a warehouse is built, it's going to be in an area where there's going to be multiple warehouses around it, and there's always a pool of talent that they're going after. Where if someone else next door is paying $2, $3 more, they're going to jump ship. There's not a whole lot of loyalty associated with a warehouse employee, unfortunately. So for us, it was important to kind of come up with a way to use technology to differentiate ourselves and kind of mitigate some of those challenges. And using a remote pallet operating system really helped us kind of target, hey, while we're not now limited to the pool that's within that vicinity, we also can tap into disability or veterans who might be able to then, have a solid work ethic, but we can tap into them to kind of get into our warehouses without literally getting them into our warehouses and still being able to get our work done. So that's really where this idea came from is, hey, this could be a really great match given some of the challenges we're facing, and technology is right at the forefront in helping solve that challenge.
From a security perspective, IoT is an avenue for malicious cyber criminals to access networks and access the marketplace or access a company's sensitive information. How do you think about security when you have your talent that's working remote. They're accessing they have control over a drone or machine that could certainly cause havoc if it's not properly managed, and there aren't guardrails and thresholds, and from a cybersecurity perspective, isolated to just that employee. What kind of security challenges open up when, understandably, a lot of companies since COVID have moved to remote work. The risk factor of a remote worker is generally pretty low for what you might consider a knowledge worker that's working on the computer, that's building Excel files or making calls. When it comes to managing heavy machinery and heavy equipment in a manufacturing or a warehouse space, that opens a whole new level of risk to the organization. How does a company like National DCP contend with that level of risk? What are your thoughts on that?
With COVID, the mobile workforce, it's all remote, right? Your workforce is literally, it's mobile. In our case, it is mobile because, along with our workers in the warehouse, we also have drivers on the trucks that are on the road at all times. And we have, software on the trucks, IoT devices on the trucks. So we have to have a comprehensive strategy on how we're securing all of this when our assets are all over the place, right? They're not within a warehouse necessarily, or within an office or remote. They truly are all over and sometimes just on the go. So we build our fortification around it, right? Every single asset is, monitored, and we have a view of it at all times. We have also, and what we also try to do is for, every remote worker, obviously we are having VPN tunnels so that they are coming in securely into our systems. Outside of security, the other thing also that I think is good to touch upon is, with these kind of remote operations, safety is another critical aspect that we look at, because these big devices are being manned, off site, and you want to be really, vigilant around safety as well. So AI comes, quite handy in that, where these remote systems, the more they use the certain routes that are charted out for them, they are learning those paths and are learning, when there's things coming in front of them, how to stop and things like that. So there's a lot of, work that's going behind making sure we're comfortable before we launch this wide across the network. But that's the beauty of, technologies that you can test and pilot and, use AI to learn until you feel comfortable that it's ready for prime time.
That's an excellent segue into how generative AI and artificial intelligence in general has impacted every industry and every category and every business, from the smallest all the way up to your large enterprises. We talked a little bit about how AI is making an impact when it comes to the drones you're deploying. How else are you seeing artificial intelligence impact your business, the way your team operates, and how does National DCP take the most advantage of some of these more recent innovations in this space?
AI has certainly been, top of mind for us. Has gained, momentum at a global level over the past year. And as with any new technology, we're always looking at ways and use cases that make sense for us, and finding those synergies. For us, transportation management has been a big area that we're looking at and piloting, where we can optimize our routes. So, it helps us say there's an external event, a weather event, then it can quickly help us optimize our routes and say, hey, how can we reroute our routes so that we're still staying within our SLAs, etc. It also helps us, look at our master routes on a more frequent basis. Typically, that's, again, a manual process happening every month. With AI, we're able to, revisit that much more frequently to say, hey, how can we reuse this capacity that we have within our routes? Or if there's empty routes coming back, how can we route them to be able to take full advantage of the capacity at, going in, inbound, outbound, etc. So it really is, there are some synergies that we're finding there that impact the bottom line for sure. From in terms of how our teams are working, we are being a bit, I think the right word is optimistically cautious, because, there is the concern of, security and privacy that are coming up with these new AI tools that are in the market. So, we do put in policies, AI policies around the tools that you can use and educating our teams around some of the privacy concerns or the security concerns that come along with the technology that's kind of in its infancy in reality, right? Despite its meteoric rise, it still is in its infancy. There are, it is in its hype cycle. It's going to come down. It's going to, have to learn from the mistakes it's making, and then it's going to get ready for prime time. So we're kind of in that same phase is where we're seeing a direct impact. We are, going after those use cases. And then in certain areas, we're educating our teams, our employees, and kind of waiting in some cases to let the, dust settle and then take full advantage of it. So that's kind of our position, optimistically cautious from an AI perspective.
I think you're prudent to take that perspective. I work with countless IT leaders, and they're split. Half of them are driving full throttle into building some kind of chatbot or some large language model trained on their data. Others are posting. Others will use ChatGPT. They'll put an Excel document up into a in ChatGPT and ask it to draw analytics. And then others are much more cautious, like you are, that would like to watch the others potentially fail and then learn from their mistakes and then come out with a more mature framework to deploy it. You mentioned route optimization. Where else do you see AI landing in the most immediate future in the logistics industry?
From a logistics perspective and from running the entire business, there's use cases across the board, right? There's use cases from an HR perspective, onboarding, new employees, offboarding employees. There's ways to make things more efficient. There's use of AI, from financials and ERP side of things. How can we close our, monthly financials faster? If we're taking 3 days, how can we cut it down to 2 days? There's use cases from a security perspective. How can we use AI for, fraud prevention? So there's multiple areas within the business where we can take advantage of AI. From a logistics perspective, specifically, like I said, we're looking at from route optimization, but there's also, like I had mentioned earlier, there's ways where we can use robotics to start learning more than, being more intelligent than what it truly does today is, you programmed it to do certain things. Now you're adding that layer of intelligence on top of it, which really gives you that power that we didn't have before. So that's an area where we're seeing that could potentially, as things iron out a bit, we're going to see a lot of efficiencies, and where we're thinking the future is from in our industry for sure is that intelligence being baked into some of the automation or robotics that is already out there.
That brings me to another question that I have, Chintan. Switching gears entirely. Let's say you're a newly hired CIO. By a global logistics company with hundreds of warehouses across the globe. You have international clients. You have IoT to worry about. You have security to worry about. You have personnel. You're trying to embed your team in various departments to learn how to best serve the needs of the business leaders across the board. What advice would you give a newly hired CIO of a logistics company that had no experience in the logistics industry? What would you tell them in order to, wrap their mind around the task that they just signed up for?
I think the beauty of technology is that you can apply your learnings to almost any problem, regardless of the industry or verticals. That's also what keeps it interesting, because it keeps you on your toes and you're constantly learning new, industries and verticals. I believe logistics is no different from, retail or software or banking. Your business processes, no matter what vertical you are in, they start at A and they end at Z. And along the way, you're using technology to automate that process or gain efficiencies or get data insights that can help you grow your business, or use that technology to better your customer experience. And at the end of the day, technology is in my mind, it's a data journey from A to B and how efficiently you get there. And, does that data help you build a forward-looking strategy because you're able to, mine that data or use AI to, build models around it? At the end of the day, you're using technology to kind of look into the future while optimizing, what you're doing today. And that's how you grow your business. So, I mean, the one thing, if I had to say to someone coming new into this industry, is the knowledge from a technology perspective is very transferable, but don't forget the human element. When you walk into the warehouse, that energy and the human element is completely different. It's a 24/7 massive operations. And if you don't understand the ins and outs of, how the clock works, how things are ticking when you're in that, all this, thousands of SKUs coming in and you're slotting them and they're going, there's 50, 60 different systems from a technology perspective that have to work in tandem for all of that product to come from, point A to be sourced and come and delivered into inbound into your warehouses to be slotted and then picked, packed, and ready and optimized to be sent into that truck that's going to that Dunkin that's taking in that product and making your coffee the next morning. So there's tons of technologies that work in tandem to make that happen. And there's a lot of human element to that where things can fall through the cracks if you don't understand what goes behind making that technology work when there's so many hands being exchanged to get from point A to point B. So that can be a blind spot that I would say, for anyone coming new, visit the warehouses, do a day in life of a warehouse worker, whether it is inbound, receiving or outbound, pick back and getting those products on a truck. Get on a truck and work with your driver to see how they make stops and how they're unloading their, it's just understanding that human element side of it, I think, is the biggest thing I would say coming in for someone new. Make sure you understand that so you understand you understand the pain points at every level, because that's the way you understand how you can use technology to truly make a difference, is if you understand the pain points on the day-to-day processes of the humans that are using your technology.
Yeah, because how else are you going to make their lives easier unless you understand their day-to-day and the struggles they deal with and the foresight into, if we do engage in a project, let's say, I'm just spitballing here, but building an application that might serve some of your clients that they're very used to a certain way of doing things and very used to a certain manner of doing business. It reminds me of a story that you told me before about an adventure into developing a new application. I think this is apart from where you are today as far as your employment. But what are some of the lessons that you've learned in digital transformation? I think this particular project had to do with developing an application that your clients would use or your stores would use to procure orders and to engage with their customer base. And some of the expectations in the near term were not met as tightly as expected. Can you share that story that you shared with me before?
Any leader in your professional journey, you're going to have some of those misfires that you really go back and think, my career would have been on a completely different trajectory if I never kind of saw those kind of failures. And I truly believe this is one of those, right? Where I completely had a different approach to technology going forward because of, kind of I wouldn't call it a misfire in my mind. I think I like to call it a pivot opportunity.
That's right.
So in my previous life, I was brought in to launch a e-commerce business. We went through the rounds of, talking to customers, understanding what we wanted to build for them. We were very clear. We thought we needed an e-commerce business. It's a great opportunity, new sales channel. This is going to be great. So we start by, going through the rounds of defining requirements, selecting a technology partner, implementation partner, and then we go through the actual implementation, launching a new e-commerce business on time, in budget, We start throwing a great, success launch party, and we're waiting for the money to start rolling in. And we wait a month, and we wait 2 months and 3 months, and there's no change. I mean, we're barely getting any traffic to our website, hardly any orders coming in. Like, in our mind, this was such a great tool we're giving our customers. They don't have to walk into the store and wait in line for 20 minutes to place their order. Like, who wouldn't use this time-saving tool? In my mind, it's like, it's a slam dunk. This is the greatest thing that we've, given to you guys, and you're not using it. And then we took a step back and started thinking, well, we can see all these, great benefits, but we haven't really kind of sat down with them and understand, like, what's in it for them. Or we haven't really kind of put ourselves in their position and thinking, yes, there's this new tool, but there's, a million different apps that they have on their phone. Why should they truly get another app from our side and use it? And that's when we said, okay, let's watch our customers. So rather than, going and talking to them where they may not be that open with us on why they're not using it, we just decided to kind of get our teams into our stores and watch our customers. And what we found was our customers are coming in and, getting a cup of coffee and peacefully waiting in line till they're able to talk to their sales agent. So truly, what we were thinking was it's a waste of billable hours for them waiting in line for 25 minutes. In their mind, that was the highlight of their day. They're coming into our stores, getting a coffee, waiting in line, chit-chatting, and then going to our, their sales associate and asking them all sorts of questions about how to run their business. So, it was a landscaping business that I was at, and our customers were waiting for, getting the tips on how should I run, how should I clear up a soccer field with chemicals if it's going to rain the next day, or what should I use to treat, this kind of grass or that kind of weed. There's all these different questions. What they were truly coming for was this intel that our website was not providing at all. Our website was simply giving them the ability to order products. But what we were missing is that they needed to know what kind of products. So there was a whole learning element that was happening in our stores, which we were not providing online. So that was the aha moment for us. Was it's not about what you think is the benefit to the customer. It's about what truly the customer might not even know that this is why they're coming to you until you kind of observe them, and then you think, okay, this is what's missing for us. It's not a way to transact. It's that relationship that they have with their sales associate is truly what's bringing them, and that's our secret sauce. And we're not translating that on that app. So that was the aha moment for me and our team to go back and saying, hey, is there a way to build this out where we can, provide that experience, right? A knowledge base that tells them exactly what to do, how to treat their lawn, how to care for fields, how to, do if it's rainy. So we started before going with the customer directly, we started going to the sales rep and saying, hey, what data knowledge are you imparting them that we can help build on our application? And then when we do this is going to help free up your time so you can actually use your time to upsell to the customers, increasing your book of business. And you're the ones who are going to sort of start marketing this tool. When it comes from you, there's that trust that the customer already has with you. And then they see the value of using this app. So it's a win-win. It, reduces time spent on your end so you can increase the book of business, while it reduces the time for the customer as well. They can do all of this work, at night after their kids are in bed. So it was a win-win at that point. So I think that mentality, when you go out and you gung-ho about solving a problem, technology can do this, but not quite understanding that human element of what are you targeting, right? How do you understand what truly the customer wants and not what you think they want? Honing in on that is very important. And how do you attack change management, right? And adoption. it's not about, just marketing and throwing marketing dollars, but it's kind of understanding that there's a trust factor of who it comes from, how you tell them what the benefits are. And that's when the adoption truly starts. So after that, I think before I start any project, for me, the biggest lesson is, who is our target audience? What are they going to get out of this? Is it truly a pain point? And who are they going to trust if we try to solve it for them to get it in front of them? And the change management and adoption is critical before, and building that into your project plan, your ROIs is critical before you start any project. So lesson learned, pivot opportunity, and able to, move past it. But definitely an important lesson.
I really appreciate you sharing that story, Chintan. It reminds me of the generational gaps in terms of the willingness to adopt new technologies. I'm not sure how old you are, but I remember the days where I used to chat on AOL Instant Messenger, and that was brand new at the time. We could communicate with our friends through via a computer and talk about our anxieties in high school and everything we were dealing with at the time, and planning a trip. I was speaking to a friend the other day about, we used to communicate through like AOL. We didn't have phones at the time, and we'd say, okay, we're going to meet here. We're going to meet at this time. Then we're going to the movie theater. And then if you didn't comprehend or really understand what the directions were, you would arrive somewhere, no one would be there, and you couldn't communicate with anyone.
I remember those days.
and now it seems like we have so many fail safes of having this device in our pocket to resource information. But before my time, my parents would have to use a corded phone to communicate with their counterparts, and then before that there was nothing. So considering your client base and what are they comfortable with? What kind of technologies did they grow up with? I imagine a lot of your customers dealt with business transactions from a face-to-face perspective. There's an underlying level of trust that they had with their sales representative or the store manager that was underpinning the decisions they were making as they were acquiring, various, fertilizer or other chemicals they would use out when they were building or on the farm. But if your client base grew up with AOL or today like TikTok or whatever it might be, that app, and they don't want to talk to anyone. They prefer not to engage face to face, and there's more. They're less socially tuned. There's more social anxiety because they're able to occupy themselves alone much more effectively today. They may have preferred an application. They would say, "Oh, thank goodness I don't have to go into the store. I don't have to go to the bank and make small talk that I don't want to make. I can just do my transactions through this banking app."
That's true in any sector as well, right? You have that the target audience, definitely is changing. The older generation, I think, there might be, a bit longer to adopt to these technologies, but I think thanks to, Amazon and everyone just being comfortable, sometimes it goes in the opposite direction where everyone expects a Amazon-like experience on your apps, and you're thinking, oh my God, it's the complete opposite because you don't have the budgets of the Amazons of the world where you're going to be able to have a seamless experience like Amazon, but that has become the de facto expectation because that's what what everyone is seeing outside. So there's two extremes, right? There's some where, like you said, the younger generation unless you do business that way, I don't even want to bother working and doing business with you because I am so used to running my entire business on my phone and on the go. So you have to cater to that audience. And then there's the others who are getting used to it, but in their personal lives, they're getting used to it just fine. They don't quite trust getting used to it with their professional lives. So that's where the adoption is something that you really truly have to find a way to gain their trust to be able to start using your technology. So it's a balance that, we see. And in the Dunkin side of things, it's it's a natural churn, I think, that happens where our franchisees aging out, and they might be, handing off their small business or their franchises to to the next generation. So that generation is truly, coming in and adopting it much faster. So that natural churn happens, but we know that we have to stay ahead of the curve, because unless we do that, as we're sitting on, this churn happening, we'll be left behind. So in our mind, we constantly got to cater to two types of audiences, but we cannot lose sight of, hey, over time, this churn happens and we have to cater to them while trying to find a way to gain the trust and make sure it's being adopted at the other side of the spectrum as well.
One question I like to ask all of the IT leaders that come onto the IT Matters podcast show is, if you could display a message on every billboard in the world and only IT leaders could see it, what message would you send an IT leader that was looking to stay ahead of the curve? What do you think is missing? What is being overlooked today? What do you feel passionate about? What would you, in a small message format that would fit on a billboard?
Don't forget to sell for yourself. You've got to be your own marketing champion. Sometimes people think of IT as a back office and it's just running things. I think there's truly transformational abilities to grow your business if you are able to get that alignment with your leadership. And that comes from relentlessly, marketing the work IT does. It's not a natural tendency for IT leaders to be able to think in those terms, because we are, we're at the heart of it. We're technology people who like to get things done. And, I grew up from a programming background. So I was a developer and, hands the keyboards, want to get things done. And then that's your mindset. But I think it's really important if you're able to market the work that you're doing, because that's how you get alignment. That's how, the other leaders in your organization see the benefit that comes out of technology to propel their areas, right? And when you start gaining that alignment and trust from the other leaders at the board level, that's when you can truly use technology to propel, the business from where it is today to being able to whether it is from data and analytics, from AI, other areas. You truly can be a differentiator in your industry when you rely on technology.
I think you're exactly right. Marketing the vision, not only yourself, but the vision of the future is it's certainly a muscle that most IT professionals early in their career have to develop. For the most part, not as natural to a traditional programmer or someone who is technical but you have to in order to be a leader in the business, to move the business forward in a transformational fashion, and get the board excited about your plans. And to get their buy-in, you're going to have to learn how to market this in a way that's effective. Chintan, I think this has been an incredible conversation, and I know our listeners will agree. Where can our listeners find you if they have a question about one of the topics that you listed today? How can you be reached?
I am definitely on LinkedIn, so that's a great way to reach out. I'm in Atlanta, so feel free to, give a shout out anywhere if you're nearby. Would love to, at the National DCP offices, would love to, meet with new people and learn about their journeys. But LinkedIn is a great way otherwise to get in touch for sure.
Well, I'll make sure to include your LinkedIn in the show notes. And as always, thank you for tuning into the IT Matters podcast. And again, Chintan, thank you for offering your insights and taking some time out of your day.
Really glad to be here, and thanks for the opportunity and inviting me. Really had a good time, and looking forward to being able to follow through the podcast and listen to other leaders.
Well, take care, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thanks for listening. The IT Matters podcast is produced by Opkalla, an IT advisory firm that helps businesses navigate the vast and complex IT marketplace. Learn more about Opkalla at opkalla.com.